In world history, there are many examples of those who have achieved perfection in something, from valor on the battlefield to success in science and medicine. But there is also another category of so-called leaders, namely the most depraved people in history, and we are talking today about women. The champions in this area left behind not only fame but also a lot of secrets, which in essence were rather not secrets. Valeria Miscellina, the third wife of the Roman Emperor Claudius, the daughter of Caligula, was famous for her debauchery and distinguished by an insatiable passion, taken after her own father. According to some reports, she began to live an active sexual life from the age of 13, seeking to bed anyone who she liked. Taking advantage of the softness of her lawful spouse, she actually ruled Rome with him and eclipsed all possible competitors in terms of bed pleasures. It was rumored that Messalina owned one of the Roman brothels, Lupanar, in which the girl often worked as a prostitute. But the most famous in this part was her dispute with the famous prostitute Scylla. Two women argued which of them could serve the most men. Scylla had 25, and Messalina was far ahead, pleasuring 50 men. In Rome, they even said that if the emperor did not find money to maintain the army, then his legal wife would earn it in a brothel. When Claudius was away from Rome, she publicly married her lover, almost in front of her lawful spouse. However, in the end, she was stabbed to death by the envoy of the emperor, which Claudius himself, according to the memoirs of his contemporaries, did not regret a bit. Wu Zetian, the only female empress in the history of China who ruled alone, was not particularly debauched. At least there is no mention of it. Wu Zetian is famous for introducing new rules of etiquette at court. Any nobleman of dignitary or petitioner was obliged, as a sign of respect, perform a procedure called licking the stamens of a lotus. You understand what is meant here. Moreover, not only the empress herself enjoyed it, but also the ladies of the court. It is up to everyone to consider whether it's depravity or not. However, there is no other such case in the whole history. Elizabeth I Petrovna, the woman who has received in history the title of Ancestor of the Age of Enlightenment in Russia, in terms of intimate pleasures had more than free manners. Some claimed that even before the age of 20 she managed to try at least 24 men. During the reign of only official lovers she had 7. But the most interesting thing is not this. Yelizaveta Petrovna perhaps became the first example of some analog of polygamous family. When she turned 41, for some time she decided to live with 4 lovers at once: Nikita Beketov, who was 20 years old, Korchevsky, about whom there is no information, Ivan Shuvalov, and Alexei Razumovsky. Madame Dewberry, the illegitimate daughter of a tax collector, née Marie-Jeanne Becqueux, made a dazzling career through bed. Having started in prostitution while still studying at the monastery, the girl already then received a police characterization, a grisette, who lives with different men and receives money and gifts from them, but by no means a street girl. Marie was lucky. She was noticed by the nobleman Jean Dewberry, who started both a daring and impudent plan to gain influence at court by making Mary the mistress of King Louis XV himself. The plan was a success. Marie charmed the king, who even after learning that she was from former prostitutes, decided to immediately marry the girl. So she became the wife of Count Dewberry Guillaume, the brother of Count Dewberry. However, the newly made spouse received good money from the king in exchange for leaving Paris. The Countess Dewberry herself remained with the king to the end, at the same time in her spare time serving other men. By the way, she was executed after the French Revolution, not for debauchery, but because she was the last favorite of the king. Even more interesting is that the Countess Dewberry, already imprisoned and awaiting execution, managed to be the mistress of her future executioner, Henri Sanson. Elena Giaconova, wife of the artist Dali. Before meeting the famous artist, Elena, as her husband called her Gala, led a fairly respectable life. However, everything changed when she met the artist Max Ernst, who offered her a job as a model. After a while, an affair broke out between them, and later Ernest quietly moved in with the woman he loved, where she lived with 2 men at once. So before meeting the legendary Dali, Gala already had a firm understanding of the charms of the free love. Moreover, the woman frankly lamented that nature itself does not allow her to enjoy 5 men at the same time. After meeting Salvador Dali, Elena divorced and married the artist, taking on all the household chores and promoting her new husband. It must be admitted that it was thanks to Gala that Salvador Dali became both successful and rich. He even gave his beloved a castle, in which he himself had no right to appear. And Gala, when there was time, continued to actively enjoy the pleasures of love on the side. Even in old age, so as not to deprive herself of the usual pleasures, the woman simply bought the services of young and not only lovers. Cleopatra, the Lady of Egypt, was distinguished not only by political maturity, intelligence, and education, but also by extraordinary voluptuousness. The total number of her lovers could not be calculated either by contemporaries, or by Egyptologists, or by no one at all. Moreover, Cleopatra charmed men so much that some were ready to give their own lives for one night. Perhaps Cleopatra's popularity was due to the fact that she gave pleasure to men in a way that was not the most usual for that time. After all, it was not for nothing that the ancient Greeks called her Myriohane, that is, a woman with 1,000 mouths, or open mouthed. Joanna of Naples. Having taken the throne of Naples at the age of 17, Joanna decided not to limit herself in anything, indulging her own passions, as they say, to the fullest. Favorite hobby was doing it with several partners at the same time. Also, she destroyed her enemies with some underlying reason, with the help of an enema smeared with poison. Marquis de Pompadour. Having become the mistress of King Louis XV of France, the Marquise managed to hold this title for 2 decades. When her charms began to fade, in order not to lose the favor of the king, she specially created the Deer Park brothel, where she kept young girls. These inexperienced beauties were delivered directly to the king's box. But having no ambitions, the girls only gave comfort, but did not pose a threat to the position of the Marquise herself. According to some sources, a woman made love every day, not only with the king, up to 10 times. Marie Antoinette. Having become the wife of the heir to the French crown, Marie Antoinette was deprived of bodily pleasures. Her husband suffered from sexual impotence. Therefore, the girl began to actively look for joy on the side, appearing at various masquerades and masked balls. Marie Antoinette was engaged in sex, according to contemporaries, as if possessed, only for a short time returning to her own chambers to rest a little. After the French Revolution, she was even accused of having seduced her own son. Princess Saltykova. Maria Alexeyevna Saltykova was distinguished by her extraordinary mind, more than beautiful appearance, and insatiability in love pleasures. She was especially attracted to the grenadier, in whose ranks she had, according to some sources, no less than 300 lovers. Moreover, the princess left for the business at night dressed in a man's suit. In general, during the day she did business according to her status, and at night she disappeared in the soldiers' barracks. Perhaps that is why there is practically no information about her in history.